Hi, I'm Dave. In today's lesson, we'll learn all about navigation with React Native and Expo. I'll provide links to all resources in the video description. I'll also provide a link to join my Discord server where you can discuss React Native with fellow students, ask questions, and help each other out. Hey everyone, this React Native for Beginners educational video series is made possible by Zero to Mastery, also known as ZTM. I've been recommending ZTM on my channel for a couple of years now because ZTM has an amazing selection of in-depth, up-to-date courses. React, Next.js, Node.js, ZTM has it. Python, AI, prompt engineering, ZTM has it. Security, code interview prep, ZTM has it. When viewers ask me where they can go to learn more after completing a course on my channel, I recommend ZTM. And I always put links in my video description to ZTM courses, just like I've linked to ZTM's React Native course in the description for this video. After you complete this React Native course, ZTM's Complete React Native Developer is your next logical step. ZTM's course will reinforce the basics you learned from me and guide you through creating large-scale React Native apps that you can put in your portfolio and show confidently in a job interview. Look for the link in the video description and check out ZTM today. I've got VS Code open and we'll start today's lesson with the completed code from lesson 2. So let's start up the application. I'm going to open up a terminal window with Control and the backtick, and from there we'll type npx expo start. This should start up our application. It'll take it just a little bit to get the bundler going, but then we'll see it launch here, and we should get that QR code that we can scan with that Expo Go app to see the app on our mobile device. Also, you can press W to open on the web, and that's what I'm going to do right now. And it'll take it just a moment to get ready to open in the browser as well, but I'll go ahead and click the browser. Here you can see it. It's not too well adapted to the full screen, but if we press Control, Shift, and the letter I to open up DevTools, and you have your DevTools set as I do, you'll see it in a iPhone 6, 7, 8 frame here. Now you can do that first when you open up DevTools by clicking this little icon up here that toggles the device toolbar, and then over here in the dimensions drop, you can choose which phone. They don't all have frames available here in Chrome, but I've chose iPhone 6, 7, 8. After that, I've got mine set to 75% of the regular size. And this little drop menu right here will let you show or hide the device frame. And I choose show the device frame. So that's how I've got my Chrome settings. Now let's go back to VS Code. Back in VS Code, I want to close the terminal window and we'll be learning all about navigation with the Expo Router and of course navigation tabs that we've already seen in the demo app and were applied to our application already, but we'll learn about how they work. So let's open up the app directory. Inside of this directory here, you can see the tabs directory. Now, we don't want to use that from the start, so we'll be getting rid of our tabs here. So grab your index.jsx that we created, and I believe we renamed that from .tsx because we're not using TypeScript, but if you want to use TypeScript, go right ahead because it's already enabled in this demo project. Now, once we move this, let's just move it directly to the app directory, so it's outside of the tabs. Now that we moved that, it opens up this tsconfig file immediately, and it added this app.jsx or app/index.jsx in here. We don't really need to add each individual file that it will want to when we move those. Let's just change this by adding one extra line here. We'll start with 2 asterisks, a slash, 1 asterisk, and then .jsx, just like you see for TSX above. And then we can go ahead and remove that app/index.jsx, and it shouldn't continue to add another line for each file that we move. So I can save that tsconfig.json for now, and we shouldn't see that again. Now let's come back up here. Let's also move the explore file out of the tabs and into the app directory directly there. Besides that, just so we don't see the tabs applied to our application right now, I just want to disable them by right-clicking here and choosing Rename. You can see that's also F2 on Windows at least. And if I go over here to the left, I'm going to just type an X to rename the file so it doesn't apply this tabs layout file for now as we look at our application. Okay, with those changes in place, let's click on the index.jsx, and we're going to work inside of this. I'll press Alt-Z to wrap any code down that would go off the screen. But let's look back at the app real quick in the browser at least to see what we've got. And it looks like it had an error. Let's refresh the application. And now let's see what we have. Yes, this is much better now. Notice we have a header now. We can learn today about how to hide that header, and it was hidden before. But at this point, since we're not applying that tabs layout file, this is what we have. No tabs at the bottom, and now a default header is showing at the top. Now, much like the web, one way to navigate inside of a React Native and Expo app is to use a link. So let's import link at the top. It's a lot like the anchor tag, the A that we use in HTML, except this is link and it comes from Expo Router. And if you're familiar with Next.js, we also import links there. So this shouldn't be too new if you've worked with Next.js. Just a little aside there though, it doesn't matter. That's not required to learn React Native. Okay, underneath the text we have for coffee shop, let's put our link. So we'll have a link and an href. And now this understands already what we have available to us, where we could navigate to. Let's navigate to /explore because the explore file is next to our index.jsx. Now, after we navigate there, we'll want to apply some styles, but we don't have the styles for the link yet. So let's just put explore here and have the closing link tag. And now let's create some link styles. So we need to scroll down. And we see the other styles we had applied here in our page already. Let's take this text. I'll just highlight all of this. Then I can do Shift, Alt, and the down arrow and copy that down. And I'll put a comma there to separate them inside the object. And I'll make this link. Now we just want to change a couple of things. For most part, it's the same. But here, I do want to add a text decoration line. Set that to underline. And then under this, I want to put some padding. Let's set that to 4. Now, if we leave this as is, they're going to be just right on top of each other, or essentially one right above the other, the title, and then the link would be directly under it. So let's put a little bit of margin here on this title. And right now, we've called this text. Maybe we want to change that name. So I'm going to say margin bottom. Set that to 120. Let's go ahead and change this so we know what we're referring to. Title here, then we need to scroll back up where it's applied. And we need to find that. It says coffee shop styles.title. Now here, we need to go ahead and apply the style to the link. So style equals styles.link. Everything's applied. Let's take a quick look at that in our browser. And you can look, of course, in your Go app if you want to. So now we have coffee shop and explore. It's a big link. I don't think we would normally want to keep it that big, but it should take us to the explore page, right? Let's click it and find out. There it is. No problem. We're at the explore page. Notice the header automatically gives us a back arrow so we can go back to that home page. There it is. So coffee shop and explore. Now, this isn't something I would want to keep on the app. It doesn't look that great. I just wanted to show you how to create a link. However, a button might look good here. And we can create a button with the link tag if we use the asChild prop. So let's go back and do that. Back in VS Code, let's go ahead and scroll up for a little bit of room, and we're going to change this link into a button. And I'm going to come down here with a little bit of extra for the lines. After that, what we want to do is apply that asChild prop here. Now, inside of this, the child needs to support the onPress and the onClick functions, or events, if you will. So what we need there is something from React Native that will do that. Unfortunately, it has something that we can import here at the top called Pressable. So once we've imported Pressable, let's put that inside of the link. And let's just wrap that around the word explore. And now we can't just leave the text explore there. It needs to be inside of text itself. So let's go ahead and put in text as well, and then put explore inside of that. Now we haven't applied styles yet, but we do have the basic outline here of a button. Let me get rid of, or let me add a little space here between the coffee shop title and the button we're creating and the image background. So this is what we're looking at. And now we just need to apply some styles here to make it look like a button. And we're going to change this style above. As a matter of fact, we only have one property now that we want to apply to the link, and that will be to center the whole thing. So we can say margin horizontal. There we can set that to auto. So that's kind of like MX auto when we're writing CSS. So that would be the margins on the left and the right set to auto, which will center the button. Okay, now we still have the asChild prop. It just wrapped down here. But now the pressable. It's going to need a button style, and even our text will probably want to style that too. So let's go down and add those to our style object below. I'm going to start by highlighting the link here. Once again, pressing Shift, Alt, and the down arrow to just copy that down. Put a comma here. And now I'm going to change this to button text because it will have several similarities. So the color will still be the same. The size will be different. Let's drop this way down to 16 from that 42. Okay, bold, we want to keep that. Text align, center, yes, that's good. I'm not going to leave it underlined. I think the button will be obvious that you could click it. The background, no, that will be styled with the button itself. And a padding of 4, let's go ahead and keep that. So now let's put the button style just above the button text. Another comma here in our object. And now let's add the button styles. Let's go with a height of 60, a border radius of 20. Background color similar, but not quite the same. We'll go RGBA once again. Still go with black, so 3 zeros, but then 0.75 for the opacity. Just a little darker, not quite as see-through. And a padding of 6. Okay, with those styles saved, we've got button and button text. Let's now apply them up here. So style equals styles.button. And now here, for the text, we'll have style equals styles.button text. Okay, now with those changes in place, let's go back to the browser or look in your Expo Go app and see what we've got. We've got a button that says Explore, but it's not quite centered. Let's go back and add one more style to make that button look just a little better. Here we go. Let's bring that up. Come down to our style for the button itself. And I think we want to have a justify content. Let's put that center. Save, and let's go back and take one more look at our button. It looks much better now. Click that, and it takes us straight to the Explore page. Looks good. We can click the arrow and go back. So we've got our coffee shop and an Explore button. So we've looked at a couple of ways of navigating. We've had a link, or we've had a link turned into a button with the asChild prop. Now we should notice here in the Expo Router, it's based on the files. So we have our index and we have our Explore file. And you can see we go to /explore or / you don't have to type index. It would just be the root, which is just the /. That's kind of the default convention in web apps and in React Native as well. So just the / leads you to index. But now let's go ahead and change this. I talked about creating a contact page as your assignment in the last lesson. Let's go ahead and link to contact, and let's put the text in here as contact us. And then let's right click on the Explore file, choose rename, and let's name this contact. And we could even change the extension once again from TSX to JSX if you're not using TypeScript, because that would be the convention for a file that wasn't using TypeScript. So there we've got the two files. We can save that. If you want, we could still check the link to make sure everything's working as we expect it to. And here we go. Click that. Yep, still looks good. Now it says contact at the top, which is the name of the file. And we come back to our home page. Now let's look at that root layout file. Back in VS Code, we're still ignoring the tabs. We had renamed the layout file there. We're not using it at all. What we're currently using is the root layout. And we see several things, actually several lines of code already in this file, but here is the title, root layout. And what I want to highlight in this file, if we scroll down a little bit, is the use of stack. So besides being wrapped in the theme provider, which handles our light and dark, we have stack here. So if we scroll up, we can see where stack is imported from Expo Router. So this stacks screens and it helps the navigation. Now we can see right now it just stacked to tabs, which is a specially named directory we'll talk more about later. And then it went to the special not found file, which we'll also talk about later. We'll leave not found there for now, which is the page that comes up if a page or a screen cannot be found, like a 404 on the web. But here, instead of this tabs, I'm going to highlight this line and click or press Control and the slash to just comment that line out. We want to add a stack for each file that we now have here in the app directory. So we have contact and index. Let's add stack. Spell that correctly. I need to come back so I can see what I'm typing. There we go. Stack dot screen. And then we provide a name, as you see. And here we want to name index, not a slash, but index. And we can provide options like we see here in what we had commented out above. Let me press Alt-Z so that wraps down as well. And we can see the full options here. It says header shown false. So for example, let's set some options on the index. We'll say options equals 2 curly brackets, and let's put the title as home. And then of course we can close this out. So we'll go slash, close that out. Oh, I need to make that an actual string. I just typed home, so let's put that inside of a string. Okay, and now Shift Alt and the down arrow to copy that line down, and we'll change index to contact. And now this title will be contact us. So we should see that now in the header as well. Let's go back and see if those changes were applied. So now we have home up here instead of index. When we go to the contact us button and click that, we now see contact us here at the top instead of just a lowercase contact. And that's all in the header by default because of those options that we put in. Now, what if we don't want to see this big white header here at the top and we just want a full page of this delicious iced coffee? Well, we can do that too. So let's go back to our stack here. We can set another option, which we had header shown. So put this and say header shown, and we'll set that to false. So now we should still see the header on the contact us page, but the header should be hidden on our home page. So if we go back and look once again in the app, now no header on this page, just a full picture of this delicious iced coffee. Click contact us. We still have the header on the contact us page. And I believe this looks a little bit better on my phone than it does on the web. So here's a shot of my phone. And now back in VS Code, I talked about these special files over here. You can see there are two. There's a plus html.tsx. And if you click on that, and I'll press Alt-Z once again to wrap this down, but it says this file is web only and used to configure the root HTML for every web page during static rendering. We don't need to worry about that. We're not going to change anything in this file. The plus not dash found file though, here, this is an interesting file. This is what shows up if we possibly request a screen that doesn't exist. And here you see this screen doesn't exist and the title is oops. And notice this, we have the stack inside of this component. And you can do this with any component. So we could do it in the index or the contact as well. And this will override any options that were set in the layout. When we set the options here in the layout for index or contact, we could set a different title with stack inside of the contact, and it would overwrite what we had here, for example, or the same with any other setting like header shown. So let's once again look at the not found, and you can see they applied the title inside the not found file instead of applying it here inside of the layout. So just another possibility there. Let's go back and quickly request a page that doesn't exist. So I'll go from the home page And up here in the URL bar, I'll just type /Dave, which we know doesn't exist, and that's what we get. We get our title at the top, oops, and we get this screen doesn't exist, and there's a link to go back to the home screen. And that's what we expect. Okay, back in VS Code, now we've got something else to talk about, and that is groups. So the tab directory here you see in parentheses. Now this is a special directory, but we can create any directory in parentheses, and that defines a group. So I'll click on app here and create a new directory. I'll make it parentheses coffee. Now, anytime you create a directory like this, it's going to need its own layout file inside. So we'll create a layout file here, name it _layout.jsx. At the top of this file, we're going to import something called slot, and that comes from Expo Router. Slot is a lot like the children if you're used to React, because the children are passed in, and especially in Next.js, we pass those into a layout file as well and wrap those. And then it allows us to apply anything else that we want to apply to all of the other screens or pages, if you will, inside of that branch, just like we have our coffee group here. So if we put a header in this layout, then it would apply to every screen that goes inside coffee, for example. But for now, I'm just going to define this layout simply with export default function, call it coffee layout. And inside of here, all we really need to do is return slot. So this is at a minimum what you would need in a layout file. And again, slot is just like passing the children down that you may have been used to in React. Okay, once you do that, let's go ahead and drag these files that we were using in the main page. Let's drag them into the coffee group now. So it's just a little different than what we had before. Now, we would need to change some things in our application to support this. So if we went back to the layout, well, we won't have these now. Instead, we'll need to have a stack for our group, just like you see here with tabs. So I'm going to comment these out. And I will uncomment the tabs briefly. And now here, I'll press Shift, Alt, and the down arrow. And I'll type coffee in here. And now I'll go ahead and comment that back out. So now, for example, we have our stack.screen, and we're applying this to the entire group. So we're saying header shown to everything, to every screen inside of the coffee group. We do not want to have the header shown, or anything else actually we'd put in options would apply to all of that. Now, what also might be, or what you might use a group for, is just for organization if you were getting a large project. Now notice, I don't have to type /coffee. The name coffee itself will be hidden from that URL path, or the path we type to go to pages. So our app will still find the index page that is here inside of coffee, and then we'll have contact as well. So back in the application, let's open that up in the browser, and let's go back to the home screen. There we go. We can even reload just to make sure everything loads in as expected. Looks good. Now, can we still go to contact us? Yes, we can. No problem there. So we go back to the contact us page. But notice, since in that coffee group, we said do not show the header, now we don't have the header up here allowing me to go back in the web. Now on your phone, you should be able to swipe back and still go back to that home page. Here, I'm going to have to click the back button to go back to the home page because we hid the header for the entire coffee group with our stack option. And now back in VS Code, I'm going to comment out the stack for the coffee group as well, and I'm going to uncomment the tabs group. And that again is a specially named directory. Now we're kind of back to where we started. So I'm going to drag our index back into tabs. I'm going to drag contact back into tabs. I'm going to rename the layout here so it is once again applied to our application. So I just want to get rid of that X that we put in front of it. Press enter. So now we have our tabs group directory that has the underscore layout file that is required, also contact and index. So as mentioned, tabs is a special directory, and that directory tells the Expo Router to use the tabs layout. And the layout file inside of tabs, which is what we're looking now, that controls how the tab bar and each button on the tab bar looks and behaves. So the files inside make up the content of the tabs now. So index and contact, for example, make up the different content of the tabs. And we can see here we've got a tabs.screen, and there's one for index, another tabs.screen, there's one for explore that we need to rename to contact. So let's do that, contact, and we'll put the title here. It's contact, because I'll stick with contact there. It will be easier for the icon button that we have. And we can change those icons. We're going to look at that too. But now let's just go back and look at our application, and it should be more of what we were used to seeing. Looks like I need to reload the application as well. There we go. So now we have our home and our contact buttons once again at the bottom in these tabs. Now I keep getting that warning because of some things that are on this Explore page, I think by default in that project, but don't worry about what you see over here. So here is the tabs menu, and we can go back and forth, but let's look at how we can customize this a bit more to fit our application. Now, here's how it looks on my phone, which looks better, I believe, than it does on the web. Yeah, definitely the web doesn't seem to adapt to the light and dark mode with the bar here at the bottom, and it seems to always be white. However, on my phone, it always seems to change with light and dark mode as I'd expect it to. Okay, back in VS Code, let's look at how this tabs layout really works. And you can see the function is tab layout, and we're bringing in the color scheme from the use color scheme hook. And the first thing we see is where that is used here inside of the parent tabs that have been imported, not tabs.screen, but just using tabs to wrap around everything else. And we pass some screen options. So this can set different options for those icons and what we see inside of our tab bar. Also, we set header shown to false here. Notice the tab bar active tint color. So this applies the color scheme to our bar. And there's another setting I'm going to want to put here for inactive as well. So let me go ahead and do that just by putting the space. Then I'll highlight line 14, do Shift Alt and the down arrow. So I've got both. I guess I didn't need that space if I did that. Right now, they still have the same name, but what I want here is tab bar inactive tint color. Now, we're bringing in a colors object up here above. And what we're checking here with the color scheme is it says light or dark. And this is bracket notation right here, getting that from an object. So if it says dark, we're getting the dark theme from colors. If it says light, we're getting the light theme. And then it's using the nullish coalescing operator here, and essentially that's saying if this is null or undefined, it's going to default to light. Well, once you go to light, then that has its own object for the theme, and we're looking at the tint property. And just to show you that, I can hold down Control and click on colors here, so you can see colors is an object, but then that object has two different objects in it, the two themes, light and dark. So we're looking at light.tint, and you can see the tint color light variable here that is set above. So it's really this color. Likewise, if it was dark, it would be tint color dark, which is set up here, which is white. So it does change according to the theme, and we can change those colors if we want to as well. Something else we might want is to set the header align. And there are several properties that you could look up in the docs, but it's header, title, align. I believe if you just start typing header here, you will see quite a few that you could use. So say we'd want to put that to center. I don't know that I do want to keep it at center, but say we do. Let's take a look at that real quick. So if we go back to our application, click on Contact Us. Oh, we're not showing the header yet. Let me go ahead and set the header to true, and then we could probably see if it was centered. That would make sense. Okay, we go back here, take another look. Yep, contact is now centered. If I go back to home, home is now centered. So that did make a difference on those headings. Now I don't necessarily want a heading, or maybe I just want it on contact. We'll come back and make those changes as well. What I think I'll go with is no heading, just because we'll have that bar at the bottom that will allow us to navigate. So I'll have false here, and then I won't even need this header title line, but I wanted to show you it could be there, so I'll just comment it out as an example for you. And now, just to show how we can change those colors, let's go back into our color theme and let's change this theme. Instead of tint color light being the color that is defined here, let's change it to orange. We should be able to notice that. And then the tab icon default right here, let's go ahead and change that as well. I want to change it to C68E17, which is a caramel or caramel color, if you will, depending on how you pronounce that. I hear it both ways. Okay, now that we've made those changes, if we go back and look at the application, we can now see we have orange icons. And of course, when it's selected or focused, it has a little different color than when it's not. And it should, of course, look a little different on the phone as well. Here's mine. Back in VS Code, let's close that colors file now. And let's scroll down to look at the rest of this. So what we see here is each file that we now have has a tabs.screen. We're passing in the name. And then there's some options here also. So if I wanted that title to be Contact Us here, for example, I would put Contact Us. Here we have a tab bar icon for each. And you can see we're using a tab bar icon that is imported up here, a component. So now this tab bar icon receives a color. That color is coming from the theme, so that, of course, changed the color of our icons. And it also has focused. So you're going to see a different icon when it's focused and when it's not. This would just be a Boolean, true or false, to see if it has focused. So you're either getting the home icon or the home-outline icon. Now we changed our other one from Explore to Contact Us. So maybe we want to change this icon. Right now it is a code slash or a code slash outline. So where can we find more icons? Well, if I hold down Control and click Tab Bar Icon, we go into that file. Now I'll press Alt-Z to wrap this down. You can see there's a comment that was left for us here. You can explore the built-in icon families and icons on the web, and it gives us the URL used to find those icons that we can then use here in React Native and Expo. So I have copied this icons.expo.fyi, and let's go there in our browser. So I'm going to go to a different tab, paste that URL in, and pull that site up. This looks pretty good. Let's see what they might have here if I type the word contact in. And yeah, there's a contacts icon, but we want like contact us. So maybe we're thinking more people, or maybe you'd want a phone icon. You can pick what one you like. I think I'm going to go for something with people, which we typically see, or people-circle. Let's see if I can spell circle right. Do they have that? Yes. This is something we typically see. So people-circle, people-circle-outline. So we could use both of those to switch between the two. Remember, we're using just a regular icon and then usually the outline version of it when it doesn't have focus. Now notice both of these are coming from ionicons, I believe is how you pronounce that, ionicons. So that's not where all of them come from on this site. You might have to do a different import if you were using one that didn't come from there. And we might do that later. But right now, we're already using this, or the app is already using this for the icons it was bringing in. Back in VS Code, in the tab bar icon component that we have here, you can see it already imports ionicons from Expo vector-icons/ionicons. So we're already using that specific library with this tab bar icon. So we're good to go there. Back in the layout that's inside of the tabs directory, we can now replace the code slash. I'll press Alt-Z to wrap that down, but we're going to change this code slash, and I'll press Control-D to select both of them, into people-circle. And we also, of course, had people-circle-outline. So now we can check the app to see if it has applied the new icon when we go back to the test page. And yes, we have the new Contact Us name and the icon here that shows the people. And when it's not selected, of course, it looks different than when it is selected. Okay, we're back in VS Code at the end of this lesson, but remember your assignment from the last lesson to take that Explore page and turn it into a contact page. We did a little bit today by changing the name of the file and, of course, some of the links to the contact page. But if you haven't completed that assignment, this is a great time to continue working on that until the next lesson. And don't be afraid to use the theme text component, for example, that they've created for you. You can check out that file, but the nice thing about it compared to the normal text is it's already going to apply that color scheme, whether it's light or dark. So go ahead and turn the contact page, what used to be the Explore page, into a contact page for the coffee shop if you haven't. And in the near future, I'll show you what I have also done with that file to turn it into a contact page. But the next lesson is about lists in React Native. A quick shout out to my patrons. Holy Coder is a progress provider, and my junior patrons, Programming Polyglot, Isaac, Will, Ernie, Georgie, Stacy, Abe, Javier, Michael. Thank you all so very much. You're helping me reach my goals. Remember to keep striving for progress over perfection, and a little progress every day will go a very long way. Please give this video a like if it's helped you. And thank you for watching and subscribing. You're helping my channel grow. Have a great day, and let's write more code together very soon.